So, hello, hello, hello. I am very joyful that you are here today. And I wanted to invite you into a place of kind of just knowing your knowing. Like, sometimes what happens is we get shown like an intuition or a nudge or an insight. And then I'm just so sad that the times in my life when I have not just allowed myself to be clued in by that intuition or insight, right? So I just want to take a little moment here to acknowledge that part of you that really knows something, that knows the truth of something, that knows your next action on something, that knows how to best approach something. And while our entire lives are an experiment, see, you can't actually get it wrong. I know we think that we get things wrong all the time, but in essence, it's not really getting it wrong. It's getting it like, that part of it, this part of it, woohoo. Okay, I'd like more of that, please. Right? So it's a constant shifting deeper into that which works, that which flows. And when things are working, that's when there's a signal of this is on fire. This is like awesome. And every once in a while, and not that often, and I'm not obsessed or anything with it, but I do have a tarot card deck. And every once in a while, I run cards. And I'm always amazed, even though I get what they are, I'm always amazed when they're just so right on, right? When they're just so right on. And right now, there's some things that are clicking into place in my life that haven't been clicking into a place for a really long time. So it's been kind of an amazing trajectory this last couple whiles. And it started with something that I perceived as negative because the last house I lived in, which I adored, oh my gosh, I had the biggest, most beautiful jacuzzi bathtub in a dusty rose color. This bathtub, it was something else. It's really nice. And when I found out they were going to sell that house because I wasn't owning it, I was renting it, I went into, oh my gosh, right? Like, this is just so sad. This is just horrible. And then luckily, I have lots of energy tools where I could really sit with it and said, hey, what opportunity is this, right? Like, what could be even better? Where could I expand into this and grow this bigger and grow more opportunities and grow more freedom, really, in essence, to make more and new choices? And there was this kind of sloughing off moment where I was able to let go of some of the must do this or must have that, or it's hard to explain exactly. And now, as I look at my trajectory into next year, the kinds of freedoms and opportunities that will happen because of the kinds of things I'm putting in place for my future flow, like paying attention not just to my present, but also to what's coming in and what I can flow in so that there's month on month, night on night, while I'm sleeping kind of prosperity, right? And until one at core has a commitment to this kind of freedom and choices, and as one of my mentors says, serve no master. Serve no master. I love that, right? So I just invite you into that space of your own power and your own choices. And then I am still, guys, and we're talking 6 generations of poverty that I have genetically in my Irish history. And I believe there's some poverty in my Italian history. Now, in my German history, it's very interesting. This is my genetic, not spiritual, but genetic past life. My genetic past. The German side was actually wealthy, and they owned an iron company in Canada. Isn't that fascinating? After they left Germany, they went to Canada, and then kind of shifted down into New York, and that's where I lived when I was a little girl. Although I was born in California, and then we moved back to New York, where I got to be around lots of genetic family. And then we moved to California with my parents, my mom wanted the sunshine, and she wanted Berkeley, and she wanted San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge, which she loved until her passing. When she passed, she lived in Marin County, really beautiful small place. And so when I look at sort of the things that influence my past, things that influence my genetic past, vows that I took before I was born, I definitely was always going to write. I've been writing professionally now for like 40 years. Like, how wild is that? I mean, because I was a teenager when I started. It was literally, I started getting paid to write when I was like 15, something like that. And my mom would bring home these huge documents from work and say, "Will you edit these? I don't have anyone at work that edits as well as you do." And so here I was at a very young age. And then she would let the organization pay me. So it was really cool at a very young age, right? San Francisco Foundation paid me at a very young age. So we look at like all the things that kind of like went into framing who we are. And I can look at all the negatives. Like, we can sit there and have a pity party with ourselves. And I can say, well, I married someone who was abusive. And I can say, well, I didn't end up owning the house that I bought with my family. I ended up giving that up. I can look at all these things that kind of like illustrate, like these icky stories that illustrate how sucky I am, right? On the flip side, I can stop and not tell those stories anymore, not give them breath. As some people say, like, not putting them in my mouth. I don't know that frame is like, I don't know. I think it was on the Academy Awards, like, don't put my wife in your mouth or something. It's such an interesting phrase. So for today, I'd like to do the funniest phrase just showed up. It was get out of jail free card. What if you had a get out of jail free card and you could just get out of the jail of whatever imprisonment you agreed to take on this lifetime? What if you said, you know what? I am so done with being in jail. Like, I'm not going to be in jail anymore. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to take choices and make choices that really put freedom and put my trajectory into a flow that's different than anything I've ever known. And what if I'm willing to do that? And if I'm willing to cut cords with the icky past, right? And one of the two different people I've been inspired by lately, and one is named Harvey Brody, and he inspired someone named Travis Sago, who was inspired by someone named Harvey Brody. And what I've been doing is kind of like super listening at like a very keen level at things that can be put together and put into motion. I'm not quite yet ready to teach it, but I'm definitely absorbing this paying attention to not just our present, but also that which will flow in when we set things up for that to flow in for the future. And when we allow ourselves to really revel in the deliciousness of all that life is, right? It's a very different energy it's a new energy, and I believe it's coming in for all of us. Like, I believe the planet is allowing it. And there's also a rise in the ignorance, and we're going to see some things with racial division and this sort of like fear of us all being equal, which is crazy because we are. If you shut your eyes, everyone looks the same, right? So the whole thing of the divides due to I got I know I'm being a little bit weird, but you know what? Like, every ethnic background I've ever met, everyone from India, people from you just wouldn't understand, they say. People from the deep south, people from California, people from Nigeria, you just wouldn't understand, they say. We just wouldn't understand how my mom treated my dad. People from China. It's crazy. These things are so, the places where humans were not treated right has nothing to do with one's color. It has, we're, it's like all the humans on the planet can rise together. And I'm just very present to, yes, people have treated people wrong due to their background. And, you know, Italians in New York, where my parents were when I was little, well, before I was little, like a couple generations ago, like in the 20s or something, Italians were treated the worst. I'm like, okay, that's a nice heritage I brought. But that just cracks me up. I'm sorry. I don't mean cracks me up. That's probably not politically correct. But what I'm just trying to get to is, let's tune into that within us that ties us all together, that spark of life and that creative life force, that bit of us that's human, that's more than just us, that connects to all the human beings and all the animals and all the trees and all the plants. And let's just go there and be in that space of all as one. All as one. And as one rises, so the others do. So if you have a podcast inside of you, or a book inside of you, or a poem inside of you, or if you just get on social and you say nice things to people, you know, just be kind. Honestly, if everyone woke up and did 5 kind things more tomorrow than they did today, our whole planet would start shifting. It's just taking that time to be kind, and it's not always easy to be kind. Right? It can be easier to react or to go back into story. This fucking not going.